So, metacognition involves a knowledge of cognition and a regulation of cognition. Now, there are two models of metacognitive knowledge. One is given by Flavel and another given by Stroh and Mossman. If you look into the Flavel model, it has a three knowledge: person, task, and strategy. So, if individual has a personal knowledge, a task knowledge, and strategy knowledge, then he has a metacognitive knowledge. We will look into in detail next. So, only the acquired intuition about the interaction of these three categories of knowledge enables one to internalize this knowledge and to use it in regulating one's own cognitive activity. So, if the individual has acquired the intuition about the interaction of these three categories of knowledge, that is personal, task, and strategy knowledge, it enables him to internalize this knowledge. So once, if we are not able to internalize this knowledge, we will not be able to use this knowledge for regulating our own cognitive activity. So first of all, we need to develop the metacognitive knowledge and try to internalize it in such a way that we can use it in regulating in our own cognitive activities. So, what are these three components? First is personal knowledge. Now, what is personal knowledge? It refers to a knowledge about how human beings learn and process information. That means, being a person, if I know that how do I learn, how do I process the information, as well as how do others learn and process the information, as well as one's own learning process. That means if I am able to understand or I am having a knowledge about how I am learning and how others are learning, then I can say that I am having a personal knowledge. So it includes how one believes about oneself and others as cognitive beings. If I am saying that I am a good learner, then I am saying because I am having a good learning abilities. I am having a good command over my cognitive processes. I can memorize the thing. I can understand the content, whatever I read or listen. I can apply my knowledge into different situations. I can analyze the situation or the data I am having and able to interpret that data. Then I can say that I am having a good learning ability. So, being a learner, if I know how do I learn, as well as how do others learn, how they process their cognition, how to recall that their information, how they memorize thing, how they try to understand the thing. So if I am having a knowledge of both myself as well as others, then I can say that I am having a personal knowledge. If you look into again brilliant students, they are very much aware about their learning abilities. Not only they are aware about their learning abilities, they actually try to understand how others are also learning and try to get what are the good learning abilities the others have and try to inculcate that abilities within them. And that is how they actually enhance their learning potentials, their learning capacities. While the dull students, they are not able to understand or know what their learning abilities are there and how they are going to know how others are learning, and they remain adult because they cannot enhance their cognitive potentials, their cognitive abilities. So personal knowledge is very important, that how do I learn and how others are learning. The second component is task knowledge. Task variable includes knowledge about the nature of particular task. So what is task? What are its nature of the task? For example, if I'm reading a novel, then it is one task. Now if I'm reading some academic book, it is a different, because the nature of a content within the novel and the nature of content within the academic books will be different. If I'm doing the mathematics, specifically algebra, then it requires different kind of abilities, different kind of cognitive processing. So if I am having a knowledge about the nature of particular task, then I am having a task knowledge. If I am having a more generalized knowledge about the type of task and as well as what processing demands this kind of task, is also called as a task knowledge. So which different kind of tasks are there and what kind of processing it will require? For example, if you ask students, you want to learn a mathematics or you want to play a music, definitely they will prefer music. Why? Because they know that this task is very easy and it requires a less processing. Why? Doing a mathematics is a very complex task and it requires a lot of processing. So if I am having a knowledge about the type of the task and what kind of processing it requires, then I am having a task knowledge. And if I am also having a knowledge about the scope and requirement of the task, that is, what are the scope of this task and what are the requirements? How do I fulfill this kind of task? as well as knowledge about the factors and conditions that make some tasks more difficult than others, then I can say that I am having a task knowledge. So knowledge about the factors and conditions that make some tasks more difficult than others. If I am having this knowledge, then I can say that I am having a task knowledge. A third knowledge, according to the Flavel, is strategy knowledge. Knowledge about both cognitive and metacognitive strategies. So if I am having a knowledge about my cognitive strategies and metacognitive strategies, as well as conditional, that is contextual knowledge about when and where it is appropriate to use such strategies. So whenever I am having certain tasks and when I am deciding which strategy I am going to use, which cognitive strategy. For example, a lot of information are there and I am trying to understand that information, and I am using the cognitive strategy that first of all I should just classify all the information. So I am using here purposefully a certain strategy to understand the information. And I also have a knowledge about when to utilize such kind of strategies and where to utilize it appropriately. Then I can say that I am having a strategy knowledge. So knowledge of general, knowledge of general and specific cognitive strategies, along with an awareness of their potential usefulness for approaching and carrying out certain tasks, are called strategy knowledge. The metacognitive aspect of such knowledge lies in knowing where it can be used and in knowing when and how to apply it. For example, I am having a very complex task which involve different cognitive processes. Then what I should do is, first of all, I should plan it properly. After planning it, I execute the plan. Whenever I am executing the plan, I am monitoring the plan. And while monitoring certain thing, I feel that I need to regulate it. If I am regulating it and reach my goal, but after reaching the goal, if I am evaluating whether I have achieved the goal completely or not, what things that I have not achieved. If I am using such kind of strategies, then I can say that I am having a strategy knowledge of where, when, and how to use it. So it is very important that being an individual, I should know where certain strategies, when certain strategies, and how it has to be used to achieve the cognitive goals. Now, if you look into the Stroh and Mossman model, according to them, metacognitive knowledge is actually having a three subcomponents. First is declarative knowledge, that is knowing what factors influence human cognition, include knowledge about ourselves as a learners and what factors influence our performance. So it is same like a personal knowledge described by the flower, but he gave it a name, a declarative knowledge. That means I declare that I am having a certain cognitive abilities and what factors influence my cognitive activities. Another is procedural knowledge, that is knowing how certain skills work and how they should be applied. So it is also same like a strategy knowledge, that is how certain strategy or skill will work and how they should be applied. And the third knowledge is conditional knowledge. Conditional knowledge, that is knowing when certain strategies are needed and why they influence cognition. So individuals with high degree of conditional knowledge are better able to assess the demands of a specific learning situation and in turn select strategies that are most appropriate for that situation. So if I am having a knowledge about when certain strategies are needed and how or why they influence the cognition, that means I am having a conditional knowledge. So according to this law, there are three kinds of metacognitive knowledge: declarative knowledge, procedural knowledge, and conditional knowledge. So these are all about metacognitive knowledge, which is the main component of the metacognition. Now, second most important component of the metacognition is metacognitive regulation. That is, regulation of cognition typically includes at least three components. That is, planning, monitoring, and evaluation. So metacognitive regulation includes planning, monitoring, and evaluation components. Now we look into all three components. Planning involves selection of appropriate strategies and the allocation of resources. So first of all, being an individual, I should have a metacognitive knowledge. It includes personal, strategy, task knowledge, declarative knowledge, conditional knowledge, and procedural knowledge, all kind of metacognitive knowledge. And I am internalizing that, or I have internalized that metacognitive knowledge within me. And if I am using that, I am selecting the appropriate strategies and my resources, then I am doing the planning. So it includes goal setting, activating relevant background knowledge, and budgeting time. If certain task is given, then being an individual, if I am having a planning, what I should plan is, I will set the goal, what I need to achieve. Now achieving that, what I will require, that is activating my relevant background knowledge. Now at the same time, I am budgeting time, I am allocating a a different task or different timing, within which time I will complete that task. So I am budgeting the time so that I can finish my task in allocated time. So planning involves goal setting, activating relevant background knowledge, and budgeting time. Planning skills make children think in advance of how, when, and why to act to achieve the sub goals and main goal. So if I am doing planning, what I am doing is how I should do the task, when I should do that task, why I should do that task. So all kind of questions when I am asking myself before learning something and making a goal, activating my background knowledge, budgeting the time. So if I am doing all such kind of things, then I can plan it properly. And if I am planning my cognitive activities properly, obviously I can monitor and regulate my cognitive processes. So metacognitive regulation involves planning, then monitoring. It includes self-testing skills. Whenever we are doing certain tasks and after planning, I am executing my plan and checking all the time whether I am achieving or my goal or not, sub goals or not, whether I am on right track or not, whether I am understanding what I need to understand or not. So if I am doing all these activities, then I am monitoring my cognitive activities. It is a self-regulated control. That means I myself control my cognitive skills during my actual performance. And whenever I require something to change the plan, I modify the plan. Because if one strategy is not working, I can apply another strategy. And if that also not working, I should apply a third strategy. So if I am doing such kind of monitoring process continuously, then I am saying that I am doing a monitoring. That is asking yourself, am I following my plan? Is this plan working? What change need in planning? And accordingly changing the plan. So all these are involved in monitoring process. And the last subcomponent of metacognitive regulation is evaluation. Here evaluation are of two aspects. One is appraising the product and also appraising the regulatory processes of one's own learning. That means we are not just evaluating the product, that means I have achieved my cognitive goal or not. But here I am also evaluating the cognitive process, whether I have done all the strategies utilized properly or not, done the task properly or not, I have utilized my personal knowledge or not, I have properly planned it or not, whether I have monitored my cognitive processes or not. So if I am doing the evaluation of process of entire learning process, then It is called the evaluation. It is just not a product evaluation, but also a process evaluation. Product evaluation is also important because ultimately you want to achieve that, and you should know that whether I have achieved what I plan to achieve. So when I'm re-evaluating one's goal, revising prediction, and consolidating my intellectual gains, then I am doing the evaluation. So it can be defined as the reflections that take place after an event. That means if I am asking myself whether the entire process was properly done or not, what are the loopholes of those processes, how do I remove these loopholes when I will be doing the similar task again. So if I'm doing the reflection, then I can say that I am evaluating my entire learning process, cognitive process. So by planning, monitoring and evaluating, I can regulate my cognitive process and I can achieve whatever the cognitive goals I have set through this metacognitive regulation. So if individuals have a metacognitive regulation, he will surely able to plan his cognitive processing, monitor his cognitive process and evaluate his cognitive process. And by repetition of these processes, the individual will become more and more aware about his own cognitive abilities, in which cognitive processes he is lacking, in which cognitive processes he is good at, and by evaluating and judging himself, self-evaluating, self-reflecting, he will become more and more a good learner, a good controller and monitor of his own cognitive process. So this is the basic goal of metacognition. Now, if you look into the development process, we can say that theory of mind is actually developed within 3 to 5 years. And thereafter, a meta memory and metacognitive knowledge develops, and it develops throughout our lifespan. But very important aspect is we should do the reflection, we should revisit our cognitive processing process, our cognitive abilities, and try to enhance that. Then obviously we can develop our metacognitive knowledge. Now, metacognitive skills emerge at the age of 8 to 10 years and expand during the years thereafter. So, after we can say students learning within standards 3, 4, he saw a certain kind of metacognitive skills. And if we can recognize it, we can identify all these skills and try to help him to enhance his metacognitive skills, then he can be a good learner. Obviously, we can help all the students by making them aware about their cognitive process, about their metacognition. And if we help them to aware about their metacognitive processes, then obviously they can be a good learner. So after 10 years, their monitoring and evaluation skills are also start emerging. So we can say that within a primary education, we should start focusing on developing metacognitive skills among the students. And if we help students to develop their metacognitive skills, then obviously they can become a very, very good self-learner. So from preschool to early school, we should actually, in formal education, try to help them to have a metacognitive repertoire. Now, how to can assess a metacognition? There are so many techniques that can be used for assessing the metacognition, but the very useful technique or approach, we can say it is a multi-method approach, because you cannot actually assess the metacognition because it is not observable easily. You have to make out the students, how they are thinking from their language, how they are express themselves, how they communicate themselves. So from their body language, from their voice intonation, from their language, we can make out their metacognitive abilities. So one method will not work here. Multi-method approach will be very much useful for assessing the metacognition. And questionnaire, interview, observation, journal, think out aloud protocols, all tool can be useful for understanding or assessing the metacognition. Questionnaire, interview, observation, journals, all you know. What is think out aloud protocol? In thinking aloud protocol, participants are asked to talk about their thinking. So when they are learning, if they are thinking aloud, or you can ask them to discuss within a group. So with this, what will happen is they will express their thought processes, their mental processes. And from their mental processes, you can make out what kind of metacognitive abilities, skills they are actually expressing. And we can judge the level of metacognition within the students. And from that, we can help them to enhance their metacognitive skills. So this is very important concept in terms of teaching learning process, because we can say that whenever we are constructing a knowledge, at the same time we also learn how we are constructing the knowledge. So both the process, that is constructing a knowledge, and how we construct the knowledge, that is metacognition, is a parallel process. So in a way, we can say that if we develop the students' ability in terms of metacognition, we can also help them to become a self-learner and a constructor of knowledge, which who actually do not just receive the knowledge, but they construct their own knowledge. And at the same time, they regulate their learning process in such a way that they can achieve their cognitive goals. So we can say that metacognition is a very important aspect of teaching learning process, and we should try to utilize it in daily teaching learning classroom activities. Then and then, I think we can make a student a self-learner. Thank you.